We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity Top Gun Sales Boot Camp. Let's dive in. Kenny, what you got?
So I'm meeting with a client today and presenting a is a it's going to be a big job, and he's got multiple properties, so it could lead to a lot of future work. And I've been working with kind of him and his partner, and then I he wanted to meet with me, and I kind of squeezed him in, made time for him today, but I want to or he wants to review the estimate. The estimate is a very general estimate. It's like rounded to the nearest thousand or even hundred,
So,
because
is
I
he
don't.
analytic personality first
He
and
is
foremost?
an analytic personality, so he's gonna try to break it down, piece it together, and I have one with a detailed list,
Yeah,
more so, but I don't want to give him the detailed list because he
right,
we're not that's not accurate. It's not we
right.
would be able to stand behind that because of where we're at in the process. We quoted it once a year ago, and then they're revisiting it now.
Yeah,
So I think the biggest thing for him is just kind of have a sit down, talk about it, and he has this, which the analytic does, whereas like the trim, the baseboard trim, we have to go with a stained maple wood trim. We don't want the painted trim in there. And then
yeah.
he's got a little bit of Alzheimer's too. Is like 5 minutes later, like, oh, what are we going to do about the trim? So a lot of this is, especially if it wouldn't be for his partner, and his partner makes it easier to work with them. So um, that's kind of the reason that we still work with him. But the other thing is he wants to be the analytic guy. He wants to be in control, kind of have the say so on what happens to the projects. And the other thing to consider is he just lives down the streets a few blocks, and he's retired, he has nothing to do, and he'll probably most likely be there watching us work.
Yeah, yeah. So, did you go ahead and get his geo and pain quadrant test?
I did not.
Do you see the value now of doing that? And if you
Okay, let's
don't,
let's
if you
let's let's say I did, and he's an analytic. What would I do with that information?
well, but it's not just the analytic. The the secondary can be more important than the primary. And you look at, does the pain and does the geo, do they match? And the reason, even if you could go ahead and identify them without doing the test gives you the ability to go ahead. The test gives you the ability to it creates a curiosity in the person, so you're able to talk about it more and say, hey, this is what we found. And so when you do that on the upfront, it disarms people forevermore, because they're like, this dude knows me more than I know myself. And so that's both freeing, and it's like, it's really cool, because it's like, whoa, this person's like my therapist. And then it's frightening. It's exciting because it's like, oh, they know how to work with me. But then it's terrifying because oh, shoot, they know me. They know all my games. They know how I do. They know all of this. So that secondary is, and that third is really important. And then the combination is equally important, because then, hey, you know, this is what it is. And if you get somebody that's retired, you get somebody that's older, like a white male over 50, you see somebody like me that's a 3386. This guy is super, super analytic and super, super driver. But when I go ahead and connect with people, I'll flip my personality to amiable and expressive, because that just, people like that. It sells, people connect more. So I've learned I've got to go ahead and I have to present this here. When I'm with my grandkids, you don't even see this stuff here. Well, probably if they're all behaving, you don't even see the analytic and driver. I mean, I'm goofing around playing with them. You think this guy is an expressive, amiable. And so people in business, whether they're trained in this or not, most aren't, even if they're not trained in it, people learn I got to go ahead and adjust how I present myself to people because people don't like me as I am, or it's not beneficial or whatever. So create the biggest thing is create curiosity. And if you don't do it on the first meeting right away, come and rip the band-aid off. If you don't do it right away, you lose something. The faster you do it, the better off it is. And so, do you go ahead and if they test out strong analytic, like an analytic, double analytic, do you jack up the price 10 to 20%? Because you just know they're going to be a pain. They're going to be hard to work with. You're going to have to do more work. And even if you bump it up 20%, you're still going to end up with less profit because they're going to be hard to work with. I don't know. Those are hard. Or do you try to go ahead and help them, with the good, better, best? So do you go ahead and use, like, you and your personality are going to want to do the best, but you want to pay, good. So, so like, I don't know. That's something you got it. So Angela says, it's not my circus. It's not my monkey. So your issues are not my issues, but people make their issues your issues all the time. We'll swing back around maybe to that. Luke, I know you and Kevin got to run early. What you got, Luke?
So I am working with a restaurant manager on a deck, and they can't serve on the outside until we complete our work. And just by talking with her, like, I made something work where we can get to their work, like we can do it within a couple weeks. And most of our clients are getting pushed out like a month. And it seemed like she barely cared or it was that. And she told me, like, hey, they're closed on Mondays, so I'm going to try to do it on Monday. And then she told me that it's not a big deal if we don't do this. So it seems like I care more about them have it like not. We're going to do it as soon as we can and on a Monday when they're closed than she does.
So what's your question?
Like I don't know what to do with that, or do I care less about it, or do I not?
That's a complex one, so I can give you a quick answer, but there's a more deep answer. And so when we had Grandma B's cleaning business, and when Roseanne and I were in college, there's different ways to clean a home. And, some people like, the couch moved totally and you vacuum under it. Well, that takes more time. And so again, it goes back to the analytic. So, and so I think the key is to make sure that you're caring about what they care about. And so if you make it easy, people won't appreciate the sacrifice and the work that you do.
Hmm.
So this is where the expressive personality is kind of funny because they'll use a lot of drama, like a lot. Like I know some husbands that do very little work, but they go ahead and like, hey, I helped you do this, so they're always lifting themselves up, patting themselves on the shoulder and doing that. And I don't know what to do with that. To me, it just seems goofy to do that as a husband and a father. Like, it just seems weird. But in business, I don't know. You got, if you're making sacrifices, other people are making sacrifices. So you might ask them 1 to 10. Like 1 to 10, how important is this that it gets done? And then you might go ahead and add more drama than you would, normally have. The driver analytic, isn't my personality is not known for a lot of drama. It's like, just get it done. You don't need patting on the back. You don't even need things. Just get it done. I mean, it'd be nice to be appreciative, and it'd be nice not to be a jerk or mean about it. So again, but that's a more deeper conversation, and that goes across all lines of, I mean, yeah, that's a good one. Kevin, what you got?
So I was wondering, how could I, or the last two customers I had was older women, and they love to talk. How could I like disengage from that so I can get to work?
Right, right. That's a great question. And so they do. Older people often like to talk, men and women, especially women, older women with younger men. Kenny and Luke have both noticed that in the future. So, you know, hey, I'd love to talk longer. I really would. You might invite him on to a podcast, a weekly podcast that you're on. So that way, hey, they got nothing to do, so can do that. You might go ahead. So you try to disengage, say, listen, I'd love to talk. I really would, but I got to get to work to get this done for you. So you kind of laugh and you kind of do that. The other thing is they know a lot of other older women. So this is where you turn it into a profit center. It's going to cost you more time to do it. Do you build that into the price and say, yeah, the price is going to be more, and it's okay. I mean, and so, or do you turn that in and ask for referrals, because they will go ahead. The older women will be like, yeah, these young guys, they're so nice that so they'll just find. Kenny asked that once. It seems like this lady's just finding work for us to do, just to have us do the work. So you might build that into the price. If they can't afford it financially, that's when it gets a little bit hard. But then again, invite them to a podcast. And so there's different podcasts that we have. There's one, and you wouldn't even have to be at the podcast. There's the young men one on Friday. There's the friendship one on Friday. There's kindness on Saturday. There's even one on Sunday at 7 in the morning. And so there's a whole bunch of things, and connecting them in. There's if they're local, there's the coffee connection. So there's a bunch of things that that you can connect them into to help them in those areas. When your grandma's that age, you want to love her and care for her. Your mom gets to be that age. At some point, you and your wife are going to be that age. And so, how do you balance all of those things? That's how you can do it and meet their needs and get business, a lot of business. A lot of those older ladies, they know a lot of people. So that would be a whole good training program on what questions do you ask. And then you go ahead and you give them a workbook. The guy that came by yesterday, I probably gave him 15 different workbooks. And so that's where Luke was saying, hey, should I make the person prove it? So you give them a workbook and say, hey, next time call, or here's a guy that calls, or you go ahead and have Kenny's teacher, right? Like, what a great idea. You have Kenny's teacher go ahead and say, hey, I've got somebody I think who can help you. Like, what's your biggest challenge? I've got somebody who can help you with that. So you go ahead and dish them to Kenny's teacher. She's working for Dreamscape. And one of her jobs is to go ahead and, hey, schmooze and talk and connect and, win people over. Man, the amount of business you can get from that is just massive. Questions, Kevin?
No.
Nice. Nice. Luke, anything else you got?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Kenny, did you have further on your stuff or something else or anything else?
No, I don't think so. We'll see how it goes. He was very. I was talking with him over the phone, and that didn't seem to. I mean, it's a big job. that didn't quite seem to
How
satisfy him,
big?
so he wanted to talk.
How big?
150.
Okay. So there's a good probability is an analytic amiable then?
How do you
Possibly.
determine that?
Because he wants to talk in person.
Gotcha.
And so if he wanted to talk over the phone, he'd be more likely that he's an analytic driver personality. So the analytic amiables, man, they're a piece of work. Like holy cow. And so they'll take a lot of time super controlling. And but they're nice too. And so it's hard to say no to them. So they get taken advantage of by others. Why? Because they take advantage of other people. And so, do you think he's an analytic amiable or maybe analytic expressive or analytic driver?
Not sure on that one.
Okay. So I would look, I'll work on getting out the report on the pickleball. When you guys see the pickleball report, don't look at it like a pickleball report. Look at it like, well, other sports. It could be volleyball, sport, it could be softball, it could be family. Like it could be family and how people interact. And it could be with clients. So you go ahead and get their personality and you go ahead and I don't know. They think about and it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you because if it's some type of mobile app, it's telling them stuff that they need to know, but you don't want to tell them that because that'll affect them, tick them off. And so if it's somebody else that's doing it, that can help them realize because they don't even realize. Like most people, it's amazing. I would say 90% of the people you do the personality stuff on, they don't know their strengths or their weaknesses, which is just mind boggling to me. But it's so easy for them to pick it up. Like, it's not like, so your greatest strength typically is your greatest weakness. Greatest weakness is just your greatest strength misapplied. People find that profound. They're like, I never thought it. That's amazing. That is so helpful. And so there's self-awareness. And so what you do is you start building connections, deep connections into it. And then again, if they go ahead and pass that on to other people, and if they pass that on to other people and they go ahead and then they get other people in their friends and networks that start doing the personality stuff, if it's through Dreamscape Creations channel, then it can do Life GPS can do all the connecting, all the relating, all of the other stuff, and then it'll ask questions. So to give them tips throughout how often do we want them in the app? I don't know, once a month, once a week. I don't know. But what we want them to do from a business perspective is ask them questions. Like here's a tip, here's a tip on like your wife. Here's a tip on how to be a better husband. And here's with your kids. And so you have that, and then you say, this is brought to you by Dreamscape Creations. Do you have any, projects or who do you know has the projects? So the Life GPS, I think, will generate millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of business for a business, any business, because it takes this here and turns it into a machine. Like it takes the cluster principle. It takes rings of influence. Like it takes all of those things and it automates all of them perfectly to that person's personality. I mean, it's just the potential of it is insane. And so you do it manually, so you get some a semblance of it, but the more, yeah. Other questions?
Nope.
Anything else you got, Luke?
Nope.
All right. Always remember, we haven't looked at we'll look at the pressure point PPA at some point. So hopefully, you all are doing the, PPA, life masteries. Well, yeah. Anyways, always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.